But first and foremost, we got to start right with the elephant in the room, and it's the Georgia Bulldogs. Ladies and gentlemen, those of you that know, a couple years back, 22 and 23, I believe, they won the national championship, which then started a string of, let's say, unfortunate events for them via the AP. Football players at Georgia have been involved in 24 driving related violations, including that crash that obviously, unfortunately, took the life of the player and the staffer. All of this since 2023 in their last title. Guys, what is going on at Georgia? Alex, I'll come to you first.
It's tough to say because it's not happening like this everywhere else. So then you start to point the finger at, is it the type of players they're recruiting? Is it what these kids had for an upbringing? Is it the coaching staff for not keeping the program in line, for setting the line of, if you do this, you're gone? We've seen players time and time again break the rules, get in trouble, whether it's with school or with the law, and a couple weeks later they're back playing again. Where other programs, it's, if you're in trouble like that, bye, there's the door. Don't let it hit you on the way out. So there's so much to unpack with this whole Georgia situation, and it's kind of tough to figure out where to start.
Yeah, no, it is. And look, Eric, I'm coming to you. We've seen situations in the past where if you have a player that is really good, maybe the team will overlook some of the infractions. Name that comes to my mind is Lawrence Phillips. He got in trouble over and over and over, but he was such a good player, they'd bring him back, even up into the NFL with Dick Vermeil is crying and, I really love this guy. But eventually he wore out his welcome everywhere, and that was the end of it. We know about Maurice Claret. Talk to me about this. Where do we place the blame? Like, what is truly going on here?
Oh, Sean, I am not as diplomatic as Mr. Moore. There's a billion things to unpack. I like to think of it this way, though. If there's a problem with an employee and it happens over and over and over in a department, the first time I'm upset with the employees. Why didn't we get that right? The second time, I'm like, all right, we didn't address anything. The third time it happens, I'm no longer mad at the employees or upset with the employees. It's whoever's hiring them, whoever's training them, and certainly whoever is disciplining or lack of discipline. So I definitely agree, Alex, all of those things like upbringing, where are they recruiting from, that all certainly plays a factor. But if you never drop the hammer, there's no reason for anyone to think that they need to abide by rules. So I'll leave it there.
And look, we've seen success from other teams. We've seen teams have dynasties and seen teams have 1-year success, and never this type of this many infractions, or at least this publicized. I mean, it seems like every day there's something else coming out about Georgia, so much so that in our group chat with our buddies, our Georgia guys, they sent us a video of all the infractions, all the 23, 24 different times when something is going on, where it's almost becoming, and I don't want to say comical, but it's almost becoming like, again, like, really? Like, what? Help me make sense of it, Will.
I can't help you make sense of it. It just seems like there are no consequences right now.
Yeah.
I was just trying to look up while you guys were talking, like, how many players have been arrested that have been able to stay on the team, or more importantly, go on to the NFL. So how it's a situation, a program, a culture problem. If you have guys who get arrested, they can stay on the team, stay in the program, and reach their end goal of making professional sports. So it's never going to sink in. I mean, if the fact that they had in the last 5 years, they had a death in the program, a death at the school as a result of this type of action, if that can't sink into to players, to coaches, to athletic administration, to the university president, I don't know what is. I mean, that's the ultimate right there. They've since in 2024. This is an article back from October. They had a player arrested. He was the 8th player last year arrested. And, they kicked off one guy, Rob Thomas. So one person has been booted from the team, but he may have had multiple. Looks like some of his stuff were beyond speeding. But I just don't understand from a university standpoint, especially after having the car accident that was not only involving people on the Georgia staff. I think she was an athletic trainer or a grad assistant, but then you had a star player involved in it. Like, how is that not a wake-up call to Kirby Smart, to the athletic director, to the university president, to where I really put a lot of fault on the folks in Athens is saying they clearly do not care. It would have done, more would be done if they actually cared.
Right. It's hard not to. Go ahead, Alex.
I was just going to say, this is a time where the phrase winning cures everything kind of has a negative connotation. Because, we've got all this trouble. Yeah, these guys are sticking their nose in places they shouldn't belong, but we're winning. So we're going to focus on the fact that we're a dominant program. We're going to keep winning, and we're just going to kind of continue to try and sweep all this under the rug.
A 57 and a 55, if they only had 6 wins, get that kid out of here. That's how it would be in Athens. But.
Well, and so that I guess I'd have to beg the question: what's going to be too much? What's going to be the line that where we drawing the line in the sand? I mean, Will, you already talked about it. There was a person there was 2 people that were killed. There was a death in this situation. So if that wasn't something that would raise red flags, and obviously we see things are still happening, when is it going to be too much? I mean, it's getting out of hand. It's gotten out of hand. Let me start. It's way beyond gotten out of hand. When is it going to be a situation where maybe even the NCAA or somebody comes down and says, either you fix it or we're going to fix it? And hey, Colin said, snatch their licenses. Does it need to be something drastic like this? Anybody answer?
Right. That's a solution by the government, not the actual.
Yeah, the school can't take their licenses.
Can't take their license away. I get what he's getting at, though. I mean, they can put restrictions and stuff like that, but again, just taking that away isn't teaching them anything. They aren't learning anything from that. Are they running stadium steps? Are they being required certain things that they have to do that are brutal or make it tougher to be on the program? Because I think we've mentioned it. Nick Saban, he has one of the best speeches I've ever heard about players who have problems or tough upbringings when he talked about Henry Ruggs. And, what if this kid had support? And even though he had gotten in trouble, he was still around the team. But Nick Saban also had consequences for what was going to happen. So unless the football head coach, Kirby Smart, does something about it, then it's going to run rampant until they start losing. And if they start losing, all of a sudden people will care.
Well, and some of this, like, at times when these are happening, I want to kind of take a step back and say, okay, so these are young men. These are just young people getting caught for speeding. Raise your hand if you've gotten a speeding ticket in your lifetime. All right, so let's recognize that. However, some of the decisions that are being made, 88 and a 55, the guy this week or last week, Colin let us know he was clocked at 107. So it's reckless behavior that is not just going to endanger their lives, it's going to endanger someone else and innocent bystanders' lives. And that's the problem here, where it's like, I'm looking on Sports Illustrated has a chronological thing, and you can go May of 23, July of 23, July of 23, July of 23. So it's like it's repeatedly, and to exactly, Eric, what you were saying, you've got to look at Kirby to say he's not doing enough to change the culture there. And it must be a situation in Athens where winning matters more than cleaning up the program, than that doing right by these young men and teaching not just the guys who have gotten in trouble, but the rest of the players. How are, like, if you're saying why are they not running stairs and the stadium stuff, like, that should be an entire team activity, so the next person doesn't think like to make the same mistake. You're gonna have to punish the entire team in some really, I can't say harsh ways, but ways to make it impactful, because clearly over the last 3-4 years there is a culture problem in Athens and nobody's doing anything about it.
Well, and exactly your point there, Will, is you punish the entire team, so then not only is the person that messed up going to get the message, but the rest of the team's going to get the message of help keep each other in line. Like you go back to Eric, what you were saying about the Nick Saban speech about Ruggs. He not only went on to say Ruggs was a kid that made a stupid decision, he's going to pay for it, but then it was shame on everyone else around him for allowing him to make that decision.
Right.
What, you're worried that he's going to be upset with you for taking his keys? You didn't, and it cost not only him his career, but someone their life. So it's that thing. There's the saying, I'm my brother's keeper, and you say it all the time on teams. These guys need to embody that, because letting these guys do it time after time after time is going to continue to get worse.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.